When Rabbi Teldon called me and asked me to speak, I thought to myself, can I do this? What do I have to offer that other people would want to hear me? Tonight, I want to share with you my journey of how my relationship with God and my Jewish faith are a part of my daily life. In the year 2010, my mother, Anita Indike, passed away after 20 years of battling cancer. We knew she was sick, but we had no idea how her cancer had progressed. Anita never wanted anyone to feel a burden with her own service. My mother made sure, as sick as she was, that her nails, hair, and makeup were done when we arrived at the hospital for her final stay. She held court with every one of her visitors and told everyone she would be home soon. This was her way of taking control. After a long week of watching her suffer, I realized that no matter how hard I tried to control the situation, I could not prevent my mother from dying. This was so painful for me. I was heartbroken. This was my mom. We sat Shiva, which I had never done before. People came, they shared stories about my mom, and I learned things that I never knew about her. Then Shiva was over, and people moved on. A year passed, and we dedicated the Mel and Anita Indike Torah to the Chabad. The celebration was beautiful. The entire community came out. But deep down inside, I was still trying to control the situation, and I didn't know how to move forward. As a result, I began to search for answers. I phoned my mother's wonderful doctor to inquire about the circumstances surrounding her death. He suggested that I have my BRCA gene analyzed. This is a breast cancer-causing genetic mutation. My thought was, okay, why not? After all, it isn't going to come back positive. My mother was the only person in the family who had ever had cancer, let alone died from it. The genetic test came back positive 6 weeks later. I felt like I was in the middle of a storm. First my mother's death, and now this. Then I realized the only control I have is over myself and my actions. I went to several doctors, looked at my options, and decided to have a preventative surgical procedure called prophylactic double mastectomies. This means my chances of developing breast cancer are significantly lowered. Somehow, I knew that God and my mother were looking out for me. Imagine if I had never had that test. I now know that by having this information and going through the surgery, I was handed my very own lottery ticket. I no longer had to worry about getting breast cancer. I knew at that very moment that by moving forward, my mother's death wasn't in vain. Her last mitzvah was to save my life, and through death, she did. With that behind me, 2 years later, my father developed Lewy body dementia out of nowhere. He was good on a Thursday afternoon, and the next day, he was psychologically gone. It was as simple as that. In the flash of an eye, the man I'd known all my life vanished. We drastically changed and shifted positions. I had to take control, and with the aid of my wonderful husband and children, I was able to do so as the tornado hit. You have to learn what you can and can't control after struggling to take complete control out of an out-of-control situation. I asked God for help because I had hit rock bottom with my father's situation, and it consumed every facet of my life. I tried to turn over my control many times to God, only to take it back. Then it hit me that my only job was to make sure that my father is physically and emotionally taken care of, and that there are situations that are 100% out of my control. If I constantly ask God why did this happen? God, how could you do this to my family after all we've been through? Why? We all ask these questions in times of turmoil. If I allow myself to go there, then I can't help anyone. By letting go of control, I just get to be my father's daughter. And even though he's not the same person he once was, I've learned to embrace this new relationship. For example, letting him enjoy his imaginary meetings with the President of the United States right in his living room. There are no mistakes. There are lessons, progress, not perfection. I could not control my mother's cancer, and I cannot control my father's dementia. We spend so much time worrying about how others see us. We ask, am I the only one with issues? We are hesitant to voice that our children, parents, or even ourselves have struggles. We are afraid to say that we are struggling or that we don't have the ideal family or friends. We dislike the feeling of not being in control. A wise man once told me, when you dislike where you are in life, this is just a stepping stone to get to where you need to be. That wise man is Mel and Dyke. Now, this did not happen overnight. It has taken me a long time to get off the seesaw. It has taken me many years to feel confident, good enough, strong enough, and to let go of trying to control everything in my life. I realize I am who I am, and that is good enough for me. This is a very personal relationship. People always say, Michelle, you are so strong. Well, I will let you all in on a little secret. I'm not so strong. God listens and helps me along the way.